Hey friends, Joe here from Reverb, coming at you from my home studio. Recently, I had the privilege of sitting down virtually with Mateus Asato. He showed me his warm-up routine so we can give you the next installment of these warm-up routine videos. This is a big one. Asato's routine it's big, it's huge. There's 7 steps. It's very engaging, it's very kind of submersive. So I'm going to show you each routine step by step, and I'm going to show you what I learned from employing these routines for the last couple of weeks and how I think you can use some of this stuff in really musical ways. Let's get into it.
If I don't play guitar, if I don't grab the guitar for a day, on the next day I grab the guitar, my hands feel very rusty. I'm like, oh my god, do I really know how to play this? So what I'm gonna try to do, it would be a blend of what I would do in situations like that, combined with my concerts. So what I used to warm up back in the days during concerts, before concerts. So most of these warm-ups is very influenced by what I learned back in the days when I was a student at Musicians Institute. So, and some of those exercises might look weird and silly, actually silly, but that was totally a game changer for me. This was in the first quarter of me at Musicians Institute, and I remember, the first course was about the cage system, and I remember my teacher mentioned about recognizing the notes all over the neck. We kind of categorized the chords, with numbers. So for me, this is shape number 1, this is shape number 2, shape number 3, 4, and 5. So before we start talking about chords and stuff, I remember my teacher was like, okay, this is the lesson number 1. We have to find all the notes over the neck. So for example, we pick a key, which would be C,
Sure.
And he was like, okay, the challenge here is to find all the roots, all the C's over the. So we were like,
Okay.
And that sounds very silly, but
Kind of cool.
After spending some time just playing this silly, boring exercise, my mind gradually started to visualize the neck totally different.
Something like that. So, but using the cage system as your kind of route.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. I love it. And then do you cycle all 12 keys, or do you then where do you go from there?
I would totally recommend you to grab at first your favorite key, and then you start messing around with those, with identifying the roots of the notes all over the neck.
Awesome. I love it. The quality of each different fret provides something different naturally. So it also creates a kind of a hypnotic kind of like almost minimalist thing. It's cool. It's very cool.
Exactly. And also, like, the points of reference change as well. For example, if I start with the key of C, I have this as the first shape, because I'm seeing all over the neck, and by the method that I go for, I start from here to this, and I change it to the key of F where I have this. So in this part of the neck, I have 3 Fs, instead of just 2 Cs, which is a totally point of like the changing of the points of reference. It was something very, very interesting for me, because the way how I normally see when I'm, and this is more like in terms of lead guitar, I always go surrounded by the key of the song. Mm-hmm. So that's why this exercise was so important to me, because, if we have a diatonic song in the key of C or A minor, C major, A minor, I'm always going to be messing around over, the C major scale or A minor scale, so for me, it's very important to, to visualize those things. So yeah, so to me, it was a game changing.
So the first step is taking one note. So we're going to start with C and playing each different C on the fretboard. This really puts a good visual of every way to access a single note on your fretboard. So starting with C, it's just going to be like this. And then back down, okay? So he didn't seem too particular about kind of like which one to start with, maybe just trying to like grab like the lowest one and then kind of in whatever order going laterally up your neck and figuring out, kind of the pathway. From there, going to F, and he brought up something interesting that even from C to F, there's already from the start a very different approach, a very different entry point into the exercise, because you have, without moving a position, you have 3 Fs here, and then you move up here, whereas C, you're kind of reaching here, and anyways, each different note will provide a different kind of entry into the exercise.
And my second step, it's again a very basic exercise, but that gives me a little bit more the independence of the fingers. So what I do, it's like just like the 1, 2, 3, 4 thing, but instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, I do 1, 3, 2, 4, and this is like what I like to do. I just play from, and then I move a half step up. So I do this until I get the full octave, until I get over here, and then I take a break, and then I start again until I feel like, okay, my fingers are in a good mood now,
In a good mood. I like that. So
yeah.
1, 3, 2, 4.
Yeah.
Right? And then, okay, I see. Okay, cool. All right. I'll spend some time with that too now. This is kind of like a chromatic exercise, but instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, like we when we do chromatic scales, So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, Mateus goes 1, 3, 2, 4. Really good for agility. Really good, just kind of communication between your fingers and keeping that steady flow. It's also kind of a cryptic sounding line. And then when he gets up to the top string, shifts up a half step. Okay, and then so on and so forth up the octave. So starting on F, going up to F, and then back down. Okay, kind of like a chromatic scale, but 1, 3, 2, 4 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4.
I don't feel I have like a very strong right hand. So right now, after practicing these two exercises, I move to this very simple exercise, but it gives me the focus here. It's to have the not syncopation, the things synchronized. I want to have, the balance of my right hand and my left hand. So what I do, I just use the last three strings, so G, B, and the high E, and I play a chromatic scale. So I start here with A, and I just do a quick run. And instead going back to the root, I just double the B flat, because what I'm gonna do, the movement of this is just play the chromatic scale, and it keeps going, moving until I get the so I do double. So I do. Anyway, something like that,
Yeah. I like the double stroke to start the new phrase, because then you can be sure that it's a downstroke at the beginning of each phrase, which makes, I would think, helps the cycle of the whole thing.
Exactly, the cycle, and that's the only reason why I double the note, and I do that, and it's all alternate picking. So I do like it. I'm a big fan of the masters of the alternate picking, such as Paul Gilbert and John Petrucci.
Yeah.
So I like to keep those things, on point.
But I would say that most people, when they see this, they're going to think to themselves, that is definitely a left-handed workout too. Like that's definitely, like I'm working my left hand crazily on that in that cycle as well.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you actually right, because the thing about this chromatic scale, what I like a lot, it's the only reason I said that is because I feel more comfortable when I look in my left hand, because I don't have to do much. There's no like the fingers doesn't, they don't have to be very open and stuff. So it's just pretty much a very like, a very like unique move, I just have to go, so from I just have to go a string below, and here when I play the high E string, of course I have to go a half step,
right?
So I just, it feels great to have this, the movement of this. So that's why I said I try to focus more on my right hand instead of my left hand when I practice this.
So he focuses on the top three strings, and also more of a focus on the right hand for this exercise as well. Alternate picking constantly, okay? So he starts on A, on the G string here. Okay, alternate picking, down, up every time. And then shifts. Now, that was a B flat chromatic scale coming back down. When he finishes that scale on the B flat, he double strokes that note, in this case the B flat, to start the next half step of chromatic scale. So I'll do a few kind of keys for you here. Double stroke. Okay, and so on. Again, all the way from A up to A and then back down.
My fourth step is move a little bit up. I mean, to the thicker strings. So,
Okay.
but I don't keep the chromatic going on. So, to me, one of the most important scales is the pentatonic. I believe. I mean,
Yeah.
A. I
Yeah.
focus on low E, A, and D string.
Okay.
What I just do, again, back in what I mentioned about the cage system.
Mhm.
So I start connecting the A minor pentatonic. And again, this is just an example. I'm saying A minor, but it could be whatever key. And I just connect the pentatonic scale here. So I'll start with the A minor, but I don't start with the root. I start with the seventh. So it would be something like this. So, and then after playing this, I move to the next shape, which would be. Then I go back.
That's
So
awesome. What a great approach to the minor pentatonic.
and that was very influenced by one of those master classes that Scott Henderson taught at Musicians Institute back in the days, because there's a very typical way of thinking of guitar players where we're just picturing the solo or the neck of the guitar this way, very vertical.
Right.
And Scott was saying something about start picturing the guitar more of this way instead of this way.
I love it.
So for me, I was like, yeah, that's kind of true, because it sounds very too much of the same if you just play those things. So to me, I was like, you know what? Let me start thinking about how can I approach the pentatonic scale in a horizontal way instead of vertical. So, and the only reason why I'm not going over the other strings is just because I want to divide it. I want to have some type of, how can I say, because especially, it's very typical for us to be like, when it comes to solo, we always use the higher strings, right? It's very. And for me, I don't want to forget about the lower stuff. So, so that's why I give the focus on the lower strings, because I want to see more of like the variety that I could come up in terms of, instead of just like. I want to be able to. So I want to use a little bit of this. So anyway, but that's just probably a question of taste.
Mateus has some really great, expansive ideas on visualizing minor pentatonic scales throughout the neck and connecting different approaches of the minor pentatonic, different positions rather of the minor pentatonic throughout the neck. Okay, so A minor pentatonic, and he focuses in this step 4. He focuses on the E, A, and D strings. Okay, starting from the flat 7. So we're starting from G. Okay. Sliding up to the next position of A minor pentatonic. Okay, and then descending from that spot. So, okay. Sliding up. And then would be C major pentatonic, but same thing as A minor pentatonic, right? Oops.
So now I'm just gonna do the full scale, connecting the shapes of the pentatonic. And again, I'm using the A minor key. So it would be. And again, very simple, but for me, it's, since I start, messing around with pentatonics and knowing how to play those different shapes, I was like, yeah, I want to be able to connect them in a way that, it gets like a flow. So
yes.
What I do is just, I play it I'll using alternate picking. And then from this to the next note of the scale, I just do like a.
Okay. Yep. And then just connect them. Nice. Love it. So you connect them with a slide each time.
Slide. Yeah, exactly. And that was very influenced by Carl von Hein, because he was also a teacher back in the days in 2013 at MI. And I remember him just doing all this crazy runs. And I was like, dude, I want to play like this.
Yeah.
So he
awesome.
To kind of have the minor pentatonic world kind of blown up a little bit more with this exercise of extending through all these passages is really helpful. It deals with a tonality that we're very familiar with, so our ears can easily attach to the idea. And then it gives us new shapes and new lines to deal with that are minor pentatonic, that get us out of this kind of, like this kind of thing, where we get kind of boxed into this, to the minor pentatonic from the root shape. So, if we can kind of...
I do like what's the name of this? Not finger picking?
Hybrid picking?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, great.
Hybrid picking. So what I do, I alternate. So instead of just playing like a regular arpeggiato, I alternate the strings with hybrid picking technique. So I do. So what I do, I grab the F major scale. I grab the notes of the chord, and then I do this as a arpeggio kind of style, and then I move back to the next chord, which would be a G minor.
Oh.
And instead of I still do the same thing over the arpeggio, I grab the pentatonic shape. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh,
so it would be a thing like chord, pentatonic, chord, pentatonic, chord, pentatonic, chord, pentatonic. So it would be something like this. I think it's better if I play first, and then it's probably gonna picture better.
Okay, I see.
So,
So hybrid picking, skipping a string each time, right? And then so chord, minor pentatonic, chord, major pentatonic.
yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's a warm up. That's a workout. That sounds like it's going to be a workout. I'm not going to be able to get far in it, but we just got to at least try here. I already did it, right? Yeah, okay, I'll get there. Wow. I've got my work cut out for me on that one.
This was as much of a focus exercise. I really had to focus on, first of all, which chord I was going to next, the quality of that chord, major or minor, and then the shape that I was going to be applying. So whether I was going to be applying the chord shape or the minor pentatonic or the major pentatonic, depending on if the quality of the chord calls for the major tonality. So major chord, minor pentatonic, minor chord, major pentatonic, major chord, minor pentatonic, half diminished chord, major pentatonic. That's big. That's a big exercise, and it took me a while to kind of play it comfortably, and I'm still working on it. There were some cool ideas that came out of the major pentatonic shapes for me, and a lot of them deal with kind of like using fourths and stuff. I was starting to employ some of these ideas and started to record them or loop them or use them in some more musical ways.
So this is a double stop exercise, and what I do is I grab a major scale, and I'm going to use a C major as an example, and I do what would be like this in single notes. But in double stops. So I start with thirds, then I move to fifths.
Wow. And then did you do sixths on the top there, or did you stay in?
Yeah, I forgot to mention. So I start with thirds. And I forgot about this. There's a chromatic note here. So the chromatic. So now when I go for the last part, I use 6. But when I do more like a full triad. So
okay.
And this is when I use the 6. After I play the triad. So. So it's like. So it kind of has, the cascade move.
Yes, cascade, definitely. I love that. Wow.
And then I have a second exercise, which is
of course you do.
The key of G, and that's a little bit trickier. Let me try. I'm gonna demonstrate first, and then maybe you could be able to define it better than myself. So the second exercise is this. And that goes around the key of G, and again has all this transition of those chromatic passes like. like that. So, but what I do again, it's try to exercise this double stops way of thinking, which is I start again with thirds. And I think for this, there's no rules of what fingers you should use, but I give a preference for the pinky and the index. I start with, and then and that's the first run with thirds. Then I go fifths, and then thirds again. And now I play a triad, very similar to what we did in the key of C. So, and now we go back to the sixths. So, and then try it again. And yeah, this is a triad again. So it's like.
So you're taking a different way home. So you're taking a different route back.
Exactly.
When you took up. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to mention about it because this is the trickiest part when I go from. So I use a triad of key of D. And so it's like. So I believe the trickiest part is when it goes back.
Oh, and then you go back to the fourth when you get there. I see. Okay.
Exactly. Oh, I said fifths, but I said fourths. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fourths. I mean, inverted fifths. If we could do that, but
Yeah, that's four. Yeah, I always get confused about those things. Guitars, man, very complicated in terms of.
It doesn't seem like a complicated instrument to you. You seem to have a grasp on much of the harmonic depth of the instrument.
Okay. Now, I was having a lot of fun with this, and then, when I started to move it around to different keys, I was realizing some really cool things about the way that some of these shapes kind of jump off of, so how some of these shapes react to the previous shape depending on what key you're in, okay? So I just did that in C, and so I'm starting, my lowest note is on the A string, but then I went to F, and so I'm using the low E string, and so what I found was something really cool, especially later in the passage. I'll show you. Okay, so we're here in F, right? So that's the highest note that I'm going to now in F. And that's the move right there. That move there is something that I'm using a different fingering for than I was in the key of C. And so this move right here. So it's a totally different feel, and it gave me a different kind of push and pull, and it was then naturally making me use it in different musical ways.
You're laying all this on me. How am I going to have time to do anything else other than get these 8 steps of warm up?
Yeah.
You've set a standard for yourself that you have to continue to meet, and which is evident when we hear you play. When I hear you play, that standard is being met, and that it's a ambitious standard, and so that's, kudos to you. Hats off, my friend.
Thank you so much, man.
Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps to Mateus Asato's warm-up routine. You play those 7 steps every time you pick up the guitar, and maybe at some point you'll sound something like Mateus Asato. The guy is so good. He's a gentleman, and when he was showing me this stuff, it was all through this great lens of sharing and allowing us to explore this stuff. As players, sometimes we set these goals for ourselves. I'd like to learn this solo, or I'd like to do X, Y, or Z, or I'd like to be able to play this hybrid picking passage, or whatever it is. And that's great. But also, when we employ stuff like this from somebody else, what maybe happens more often than not is we're getting better in ways that we don't even know. And so then the goals that we set for ourselves are more achievable. We can get there, through more of a direct line. This stuff is so powerful, and it can really take your playing to the next level. I'm really enjoying doing this, and thank you, Mateus Asato, for showing your warm-up routine. And I look forward to doing the next one. So cheers, employ the routine. Let's all learn something. Let's all get better at our instruments. Thanks for watching.